Hungry dogs run fast.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the live edition of the Dynasty Dogs. Haven't done this in a little while, so decided to break that one out. I am your host, as always, Michael Anthony. Alongside me, as not always, is the man who may have us adjusting our ranks by the end of this episode. It is the co-founder of the Fantasy Football Universe, Jeremy Shulman. Jeremy, how are you?
Dude, doing well. I'm sequestered to the corner of my bedroom, trying to avoid the wonderful family that's here to visit me. But yeah, we can't do it in the normal spot. We do what we got to do here. But yeah, I'm doing well, Mike. How are you, man?
Good. I mean, you have that going on. I technically share my room, my podcast room with my dogs. This is where all the dog stuff goes as well.
Yep.
So I get it. You know, it's a little cramped, a little crowded. I got a huge dog crate to the left, all the dog food behind me that you can't see, and then some Eagles paraphernalia around. So it doesn't really work out for me as well, but we have a lot to get into tonight. We had, the That Bite segment. That's going to be our news and notes and injuries because those are starting to come in hot and heavy. And then we are going to do a 3-round rookie redo, which I know you are really excited to get into because you've been very angry talking about this.
Yeah, man. There's lots of really interesting things that have happened over the first 7 and a quarter, I guess, weeks. If you want to throw Oronde Gadsden, as I know we will, into the mix. But yeah, we need to totally reshuffle our feelings about this class because as I mentioned to you just a couple minutes before we jumped on here, I have Ashton Genty a little bit lower than I think I would have or anyone would have thought, at the beginning of the season. So we'll have to talk about why and who we would have ahead of him at this point in the season.
Yeah, there's definitely some major fallers and probably some risers that we expected to be really good, but not this hot, this early, if that makes sense. But let's get right into it because you kind of dropped the lead with the Oronde Gadsden conversation.
Yep.
So that's our That Bite segment. There's our graphic made by our good friend SC Romero. Let's talk about that game last night. The Los Angeles Chargers 37-10 over Minnesota. But before we get into Oronde, I want to talk about one other thing. And I saw in the Dynasty Lounge, you were kind of talking about it. Mm-hmm. What is going on with J.J. McCarthy? Do you think this is like an actual injury that's keeping him out this long? Is this a soft benching? Because he was the third string quarterback last night, if I'm not mistaken, for emergency purposes. How are you feeling right now if you are a J.J. McCarthy owner?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. I mean, so here's what he's done so far during the season. So he had a pretty decent game against Chicago, but we know the Chicago defense couldn't cover anybody. And at the beginning of the season, they weren't nearly as healthy as they are now. It doesn't matter. But then against Atlanta, who we now know is one of the top defenses in the NFL, he was the QB 33, 11 for 21, 158, no tutties and 2 picks. So I think part of this is, yes, he was a little bit injured, but I think part of this is also the fact that, Kevin O'Connell sees kind of the situation. Number one, he wants to try to win some games and not destroy the rookie's confidence. Number two, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, bye week, Philly, Chargers, not necessarily the easiest schedule. We saw what the Chargers were able to do to a Wentz-led offense last night. So now Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago again. The schedule lightens up a little bit. I think this is ideal. So I do think it was a bit of a soft benching for McCarthy, but at the same time, it's also going to be a situation where he's set up for success down the road. So am I terribly concerned about McCarthy? No. Do I think he's very healthy at this point? Yes, he's extra healthy.
My question is that you mentioned the Chicago game. We didn't really start seeing him take off during that game until the middle of the second half or around the second half time, where he started to have, obviously pull the charisma out and bring a comeback that we've seen even going back to his time at Michigan. But are you dropping him in your rankings at all, or is this just kind of like par for the course, or how are you? I mean, I know you said you're not super concerned, but has he dropped even slightly for you? I wasn't overly high in the first place, so this isn't like the worst thing for me.
I was pretty high. I think he was like QB like a high end QB2, back end QB1 even. I just love the situation that he's walked into for dynasty purposes. But guys like at the moment, guys like Jackson Dart, just
I was
given
going to
what
ask you
he's
that.
shown, yeah, Jackson Dart has to be above McCarthy. I mean, McCarthy's still in a great situation, but you cannot defend the skill set that Jackson Dart has put on display. And he's proved that against two of the best defenses in the league. If he does it again against your Eagles again this week, Mike,
Well,
after they have tape and proof, regardless of who wins the game, if Jackson Dart can do what he did from a production standpoint for fantasy again, I don't care if he throws crappy interceptions. He's a rookie. It's going to happen. Like he did against Denver. But if he can produce for fantasy, I mean, you just have to lock it in at this point.
I hate that you brought up that Jackson Dart beating the Eagles with a good defense. You got to remember, too, Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell were out for that game. Jeremy,
True.
I won't let that slander happen.
Bro, he put Zach Bond on skates.
No, he did. He did. He really did. He really. I can't deny that. I'm not denying that fact. But
crazy.
So I know, you mentioned Jackson Dart. That was going to be my one question for you.
Yep.
But to compare it to another rookie quarterback, because technically JJ still is, we haven't seen much of Cam Ward in a positive light just yet, but I do think that has been a lot of the team around him. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. Would you rather have JJ McCarthy or Cam Ward at this point?
It's JJ McCarthy for me. The Cam Ward situation is so poor. We saw it with Caleb Williams last year. I mean, how he was just kind of thrown to the wolves. And then the reports came out that Shane Waldron wasn't even meeting with him and going over game tape. Is some ridiculous stuff. So, look, I think now that the lame duck head coach situation is out of the way, Callahan's out. We don't know who it's going to be next year, but Cam Ward is stuck in this limbo where, not only is the coaching bad, but also the team around him mostly is pretty poor. They have a few pieces, but it's really going to depend who comes in and how they put those pieces together. So I'm concerned for his development. And I do not think that I don't think this is an argument. He does not have the skill set that Caleb Williams has, right? Caleb Williams was kind of living off of his legs. He was able to scramble around, make plays happen. Cam Ward is a good quarterback, I think. I think he's shown flashes, but it's going to be a lot harder for him to develop as quickly as Caleb has. And I think Caleb is great without even having a lot of the fundamentals down.
I will say he did look better this past week with, I believe it's Mike McCoy as their head coach.
Yes.
It's McCoy, the last name. Mike McCoy sounds right, but
former Chargers head coach.
Chargers head coach. Yep. From a talent aspect, I've always preferred Ward, right? From just a talent versus situation kind of thing. I've always been a talent over situation kind of guy. Sure. So I would take Cam Ward over JJ McCarthy. But again, if you think, obviously, if you believe JJ's talented and the situation is obviously light years better, we've seen multiple quarterbacks be successful in that Vikings offense. Even, flashes of Carson Wentz sometimes peeks its head in there, but obviously not last week. But what we really want to talk about is Oronde Gadsden. Last night, 5 receptions, 77 yards, 1 TD, 23.7 points in tight end premium leagues. I just realized I'm in no non-tight end premium leagues anymore, so it's kind of hard to find that stats, especially since everything's not updated because they usually wait till the week is over to put the fantasy points out there, stuff like that. But over the last 3 weeks, 21 targets, 19 receptions, 309 yards, 2 TDs. One of those games, obviously, 2 weeks ago, Quentin Johnson was out, but now he's producing, even with Quentin Johnson on the field. Yeah. Currently, tight end 18 on Keep Trade Cut. I don't think that's caught up yet. What do you think he's at value-wise?
I mean, you can get a first for him right now, and I don't think you should. I think he's proven, number one, that he's fully capable. I mean, this is prime level. This is like Aaron Hernandez, right? dare we say the name, but this is like Aaron.
Maybe just Hernandez. Go Antonio Gates. There
you go.
Chargers.
I'm trying to think of Jordan. What's his name? The Commanders guy.
Oh God.
Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed. This is like a Jordan Reed situation where the athleticism is there. They're getting him the ball early. They're letting him utilize, and they're letting him, get the yards after catch sort of situation. And they're funneling the offense through him, which is crazy. That's really the thing that surprised me. Is you mentioned 21 targets in 3 games. It's 8, 9, and 5. and he's going off, right? Lad McConkey is involved, but we saw his sporadic usage early. We're seeing QJ with the sporadic usage now. Keenan is, of course, fading a little bit. Still a great receiver, but he's not the clear alpha now. Gadsden is right now. He's the alpha. Will this continue? I'm a little skeptical, but he also deserves it the way he's been playing.
So the thing is with tight ends, we get a little skeptical when it comes to touchdowns, right? Because if you start seeing high touchdown numbers, it start to panic a little bit because that's not always something that's continuated. That's not a word, but whatever. The good thing about, like you mentioned, 21 targets in 3 games is the targets and receptions are there, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want from our tight ends and tight end premium league. So, if he could be, I call him the seam splitter, like, in a bad pair of jeans, I really like the way they're using him in that offense as kind of like that vertical seam guy who created after the catch, like you mentioned. He is just a big wide receiver playing the tight end position, kind of like what we want Kyle Pitts to be, right? Yeah. But I had somebody ask me earlier today on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, would you trade a mid or early second for him in I believe it was tight end premium. I'm not 100% sure. I would have to go back and check. But in tight end premium, absolutely. Not tight end premium, I think a mid-second still feels okay because he is getting that target usage, that reception usage that we like to see. And we are seeing this team wanting to throw the football. And I think that was a lot of people's concerns coming into this season with the way, Omar and Hampton, the offensive line, that offense has always been a run-first offense, but they are slinging it these past several weeks. So would you do that second round pick for him, even tight end or non-tight end premium?
Easily, but you won't get him. That's the thing, right? I think people are going to demand a first. And I think, he's the type of guy, he's 22 years old. He's the type of guy who, you see the production. If you're rebuilding, you're not eager to move off of him what do you need to re-roll at this point, right? You probably spent a third, maybe in a 4th round pick. Maybe you got him off of waivers after your rookie drafts. But it doesn't matter. He looks so good right now. And look, Keenan Allen, we know he's not long for the league. QJ doesn't necessarily need to be re-signed because as much as he's progressed and as good as he looked early in the season, he still has catching problems. And so it's Ladd and maybe Gadsden. Maybe Trey Harris can step right in, and you don't necessarily need to retain QJ. QJ and Keenan Allen. Just kind of go off into the distance. Omari Hampton comes back, and then in a year or two, this is your offense. And you can build that defense finally, which we don't want, but they will.
I think this offense is exciting. Like, you didn't even mention a guy in Kinami Vidal who's also balling too, right? I think he's a good complementary back for when Omar and Hampton's back. You mentioned the sporadic usage of QJ. He had nothing yesterday. I don't even know if he had a target, if I'm not mistaken. And that was my biggest fear for him is he was getting a lot of these deep plays, deep touchdowns. Would that continue? And then we just talked about the tight end position. You can kind of go with any position on the football field. If it's a lot of big plays and big touchdowns, that's the best ball guy, right? Yeah. And that's what QJ was starting to look like. I was trying to think of some tight ends to compare Oronde to when it comes to dynasty-wise. And I didn't want to go, rookie versus rookie because we're going to do a draft here soon. Yep. So what do you think about, Oronde or TJ Hawkinson?
Oh, there's no way I'm taking TJ Hawkinson over Oronde Gadsden. It's not even close. And, we see the quarterback problems, but we also see the emergence of Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison is legit. The drumbeat from the offseason was he's gotten even better. And we've just seen it on the field every single game that he plays. So Jordan Addison is the clear number 2 target. Aaron Jones comes back. He's a nice dump off option. TJ Hawkinson is just unnecessary if he doesn't score a touchdown for you, which he's not doing. He's trash.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we'd see a little bit more from TJ with Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz been a perennial tight end targeter, and we've seen flashes of it. He had a touchdown call back 2 weeks ago, and then he had an okay day last night. I'll go with somebody a little bit deep. I would go Oronde too, by the way. Go somebody a little bit younger, who has really kind of produced. He is injured currently right now, but Dalton Kincaid or Oronde?
That's a good question. I can't go Kincaid though. I mean, right. The production for both of these guys is roughly the same amount of time. It's just this season, and it's just a couple of games, right? Dalton Kincaid had been doing nothing previously. Keon Coleman, I think, is still a decent wide receiver, but Khalil Shakir has emerged out of necessity. You also have Elijah Moore, who's putting, Josh Palmer when he was healthy. And then there's, of course, reports that Buffalo is looking for a wide receiver. So with all of this and with the pass catching running backs, I think that's really the issue that we're seeing here is Rondé Gadsden currently is on a team where the quarterback is elite and does not have to check down, but then they also don't have an elite pass catching running back, right? When you're talking about Minnesota, both of those things, the quarterback has to check down because he's not elite and they have a pass catching running back now. And then the same issue in Buffalo with an elite quarterback and an elite running back can catch the football.
Yeah, it's just going to be – I love Khalil Shakir. I think he is like the 1A to 1B with Dalton Kincaid in that offense right now. And you kind of mentioned it is out of necessity because, while I really like Khalil Shakir, he's probably a better 2 than anything else than a 1B. But I do think they make a move at the deadline. So I could see you taking a Rondé over him right now. I just think there is still so much untapped potential with Kincaid too. Like he could be a similar guy to an Rondé. Like obviously it's weird comparing a third-year vet to a rookie and saying he could be that guy. But we've seen the flashes, right? It's just the injuries with Kincaid, and that's even going back to his time in college. Being an injured player, and he's injured now with an oblique injury, and that's really pissing me off because I kind of need him this week in a couple leagues. So I could see the argument. I still am going to lean Kincaid because you mentioned the offense that Rondé's in. Don't forget, Kincaid is still going to be a top target in a Josh Allen-led offense, in my opinion, anyway. So he's moving up, and I think Rondé is into the top 12 tight end dynasty ranks. I think that's pretty fair to say at this point. Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah, he's right there. I mean. We're going to talk about these rookies, but Fannin and Rondé is an interesting conversation.
Don't do it. We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it. So I'm not going to spoil anything. But it's even an interesting conversation to have Rondé or Colson Loveland, who we haven't seen yet, right? So what are these guys going to be when the usage ramps up, when they're fully integrated, when the path is clear? We know that's coming. Even guys like Arroyo, right? We know the path is clearing for these guys eventually. Maybe not Arroyo, but a lot of these other guys have a chance to break out in years 2 and year 3, even though they're already showing the ability to compete. But yeah, this is the issue, right? Rondé Gadsden was super cheap through no fault of his own, and now he's dominating. We love it.
The thing you mentioned with Arroyo is that I guess we all kind of suspected that the target volume would have been there for him already. But I don't think we all expected JSN to be, really good. Maybe not like, getting 19 receptions and nobody else gets anything. But then
crazy.
Torrey Horton's also flashed too.
So
they haven't had to use a whole lot of Elijah Arroyo. Jamie, what's up? I wasn't able to get any gets in any of my leagues because I already have them all. I have 26% shares of Rondé in my league, so that's a pretty decent number right there. I'll take that. But let's get into the other news that we have going on. Justin Fields was benched last week. He did get hurt. I believe it was a concussion, came back, and then he got benched again. So I don't know if everything was just a benching or if maybe there was still some concussion symptoms they were a little worried about, but it does seem like it was a benching. Tyrod Taylor came in. Obviously, it wasn't much better at all. They haven't committed to a starter as of yet for this week. Obviously, there has to be some panic in Justin Fields right now. Or what are you doing? Are you just kind of holding and, just kind of waiting till he gets another opportunity this year? Because it's obviously going to happen, right? I don't think if they bench him now, I think he plays against this year. Like, I don't think they're going to look at Tyrod Taylor and they're going to be like, okay, what are we doing? We're losing games anyway, right? We might as well ride out this Justin Fields thing and see what happens at the end of the season. What are you doing with Justin Fields at this point?
Yeah, you have to hold him. You're not getting anything of value, and there's no reason to. Hopefully, you have Tyrod Taylor as well, so that you can just play the guy if you have to in a pinch. But yeah, it's even against Cincinnati, it's going to be ugly this week. The problem is if Garrett Wilson isn't playing and we expect him not to play, we'll see what happens. But if he's not playing, there's nobody in that offense who can separate, who can earn the amount of targets that you need to kind of open up the field for the rest of the players. And we saw that last week when Wilson was out and Mason Taylor struggled to even get any looks. And then, of course, the rest of the offense struggled as a result. So, yeah, I'm kind of concerned about Justin Fields. If he plays and Garrett Wilson plays, I think he's going to put up fantasy points for you. So that's great. If it's Tyrod Taylor, I think he's a good quarterback, but there's just not a lot to work with there in New York. And teams are going to score on them, and they're going to struggle to score back. So it's going to be a roller coaster.
Let me double check and see what the update is for Garrett Wilson, because what I have was not up to date. Has been listed on the injury report this week. Did not participate in his game status on the latest report. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to play this week, basically. Yeah. So basically, the long story short of that is don't start any Jet this week that's not named Breece Hall, and that's even kind of a scary situation.
Agreed.
Yeah, they're just going to stack the box and make Tyrod beat them. Does this Justin Fields situation? Obviously you're saying hold on to him. Are you panicking on Garrett Wilson at all because of he's going to go into another year probably with another starting quarterback? Obviously, he's still been good, but we've always had higher expectations for Garrett Wilson, right? Are you going to panic on him at all?
No, I mean, he's a great player. I mean, he's right now currently the wide receiver 15, right? So he's even doing it with on. Yeah, and I don't have stats in front of me in terms of like on target catch percentage or things like that. But you throw him the football, he catches the football, right?
That's the biggest thing in football.
Yeah, he gained separation, right? He's got a good ass score, right? Like, so we know that he's a good player. We know that he can survive this situation because he already has. The one thing he couldn't survive is an elite wide receiver in Devontae Adams coming in. With already an elite bond with an all-world quarterback from what was it, 2 seasons ago? Yeah. So Garrett Wilson, no, I'm not so concerned with him, but I am concerned that let's say it's a rookie, it's going to take another year or two. So if you can get out at value now, I don't mind it. But at the same time, he's a good player who will succeed eventually.
Absolutely. Let's get into, this kind of sucks because this is a future Hall of Famer. Mike Evans, broken clavicle, was ugly. It really was scary when he went down. He was down on the field for a little bit. Wouldn't even open his eyes as they were walking him off the field. It was really scary because especially a player that we all really enjoy watching. With his injury, we've seen the emergence of Tez Johnson, a guy I really liked. Just the size be damned. The dude is just, I call him Tez the Rock Johnson because he's the most electrifying man on the field.
I like it.
But how do you feel about these pass catchers, obviously outside of Emeka Egbuka, with Mike Evans out?
Yeah, I'm really good with it. I mean, it's a damn near elite offensive line with Wirfs healthy and back. I know they're not completely healthy, but they're still damn good. Baker has proven that when he has time, he can do it. And when he doesn't have time, he can dance around enough to do what he needs to do to move the offense. And look, Bucky's not healthy. He's not showing signs that he's necessarily close to coming back. We hope he is. But they're not running inside right now, and that's fine because they're going to pass the crap out of the ball. So if you want to talk Tez Johnson, great, he's seeing the looks. You want to talk to Sterling Shepard in a week with 6 teams on bye, go for it. If you want to talk Cade Otton, I think Cade Otton has probably the safest floor of all of these guys because now he's locked into probably 5 targets a game, and he's a viable back end tight end. If he scores a touchdown, you're very happy with his day.
Now, I know I didn't, kind of brief you on this before we went live here, but if there was one Buccaneers pass catcher outside of obviously Emeka and, Godwin, because, he'll be back at some point, is there anyone you're interested in targeting trade-wise? And if you could get them for a cheaper price?
Yeah, I'll target Tez. I don't think he's cheap. But I think you can get him for about a late 2nd round pick. So if I'm a contender, I'm happy to target Tez for that price. It feels probably a little expensive, but he's a young guy. And he's someone who hasn't kind of produced a ton. Certainly didn't start at the beginning of the season. So With Godwin coming back, I'm not sure that that's going to crush Tez. I think that's more of a Sterling Shepard, Cade Otton kind of area of the field. But that being said, yeah, I think it's Tez. Sterling Shepard for me is a guy that you plug him in if you have to. And Cade Otton in tight end premium leagues is a good option. But yeah, it's Tez for me. I'd go send a second for him immediately and see if anybody bites.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I was thinking early third, so a late second is not crazy to think about either, because like you're splitting hairs at that part in the draft anyway.
For sure.
I like that call. But last two things, we got two more things here, and then we'll get into the draft. Jaden Daniels, his hamstring injury. We are kind of seeing a sophomore slump from him. I don't want to panic, but obviously we moved him into our top 3. Some people have put him at 1 in Dynasty ranks. And, we've had injuries all over this offense, in fairness to him as well. So it's not been all him, Debo, Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels being in and out of the lineup injury-wise. Are you pushing him back, since you are the adjuster ranks gentleman here, from that top 3 position? Or are you just like, you know what? I've seen the talent. I'm waiting for him to get healthy. I'm waiting for this team to get healthy.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
That's really where it is. I'm going to kind of just hang on. We have Garrett Wilson news breaking. Garrett Wilson is officially out, as is Sauce Gardner for Sunday.
Oh, they're dead. They're done.
Yeah.
Who are the Jets playing this week?
I feel like it's not a good situation. Nope, I can't think of it.
I'll pull it up right now. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but with Jaden Daniels, the one thing that I'll hang my hat on is the schedule is so nice in the back half of the. Listen to this. It's Detroit in week 10, and then it's Miami bye week, and then Denver, Minnesota, but then Giants, Philly, not a great one, but Dallas in week 17. So you got about 4 out of those last 7 games where you're like super excited to start Jaden Daniels, assuming he's healthy, and he should be at that point, assuming they're kind of in this playoff hunt, and the defense can't cover anybody. So I'd love that as well. Jaden Daniels is going to have to do everything. He's going to have to do what we're expecting Lamar to come back and do this week and for the rest of the season for the Ravens.
So real quick, the Jets are playing the Bengals, and we just saw what Joe Flacco did with
over.
Jamar Chase. Yeah, it's over already. The game hasn't even started. You might as well just close it out. We are seeing Terry McLaurin back this week too. So
nice.
That's a good start in the right direction. Yeah. As soon as Jaden Daniels comes back, this team, I think, will be what they were, going into last season. I'm not really concerned about him at all. We've seen the biggest thing for me, even coming out of college for him, was injury concern, because he was a guy that, would take these cartoon type hits. Like I've seen him get propellered. I've seen him get, all this crazy shit. Yeah. So I just want him to be able to take care of himself. That's all I care about. Your mental health matters. We talk about this all the time at the end of the episodes, but your physical health, Jaden, also fucking matters. So please take care of yourself. I like the matchups that you mentioned, and that is especially, what we want at the end of the season with our playoff contentions in hand. But the last thing here, Kendre Miller, ACL injury. This sucks, because this dude all last season was taking promos from Dennis Allen about how he can never be on the field and all this shit. Yep. It sucks, but, I think I believe you were a Devin Neal believer somewhat, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I do, obviously this propels him to what we think the RB2 in that offense. Do you have any faith that, Devin Neal could, keep this spot, and even when Kendrick comes back next year? Because he still should have another year on his contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm assuming Alvin Kamara is basically done after this season. Yeah. I don't know what his contract looks like in usage, but I don't think he's Austin Eckler. I think he's declining to a point where, because Eckler was built, right? Alvin Kamara's not incredibly built, and he's clearly lost a step to the point where he's not able to make 3 guys miss. He can make maybe the first guy miss most of the time, but then it's over for him. So he's lost that step. It's resulting in more hits on Alvin Kamara, and he's best utilized in this lower touch role that he's had this season. So you need kind of a Kendre type back. It was looking really good for him. It was good for the offense, good for Kamara. So can Devin Neal come in and fill the shoes? I hope so. But I don't really know if it's going to be as effective as Kendre, but hey, we're going to find out.
The thing is, though, the crazy thing is, Kamara still has a year full left of his contract.
Yeah, he may be back one more.
Yeah, we might have one more year of, even every year it says, we say, oh, Kamara's going to get traded. They have to trade that contract. And they never fucking do it. But I really believe in Devin Neal as a RB2 in this offense. I think he could be a starter. I've always thought, Devin Neal is a guy who may not, I talk about Tez Johnson being the most electrifying man on the field. I think he's just steady Eddie, smooth as silk, like
100%.
Just a smooth player, does everything right. And I think that's what the coaches are going to like about him, just, based on film, because we obviously haven't seen too much of him in the NFL. And this is a team that kind of needs, they have explosive playmakers. They have the Kamaras. They have even though he's declining, he could still be that guy at times. Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave. They need a steady Eddie dude, right? And I think Devin Neal could bring that to that offense. I have him in a lot of leagues, but I'm still trying to see if I could throw a third out there for Devin Neal, to be honest, because he was drafted late third, early fourth in some leagues just because of the draft capital. So I'm still trying to get my hands on more Devin Neal shares.
One issue I have with Devin Neal is not him. It's I was trying to get the name, but I couldn't find it. But the starting center for the Saints is also out for the season with Kendre from last week. So that sounds right. Done for the season. So that's kind of another blow to this interior run game. You're not going to have Kamara run those plays. Kendre was running a lot of those. Devin Neal will step right in. So are they going to be able to get the push on the interior to open him up? Hopefully he's not just running into the brick wall 10 times a game.
No, it's McCoy. Penning is their tackle, but I was close. I at least got the offensive line portion of that right.
Love it.
Roshan Johnson injured my heart. I think he's injured a lot of people's hearts. I think we saw that Texas helmet, and we got all excited because of what Texas has produced at running back. I liked Roshan too, but it hasn't happened yet. But we really have to get into this draft here because this is the most interesting part of the show. And how do I share the screen here? I don't want to remove it. Oh, crap. Oh, I know what to do. I have to hit the button. There we go.
There we go. Love it.
All right. So I am a gracious host, and you are the co-founder of this platform of the Fantasy Football Universe. I'm going to give you the first pick. So tell me, who do you want and why?
Good Lord. We're about to get spicy off the jump here. It's Emeka Egbuka. I want him at the 101. He's been absolutely fantastic.
I have to scroll to find him.
I don't need to explain why. Obviously, he's been injured, so he's had a down week or two. But even coming back last week, 12 targets, even though he had just 4 for 58 against a somehow elite backup secondary for Detroit last week. That's not going to continue. I think he'll have a good game this week against New Orleans. Then they go on by. He's going to get right. And the second half of the season with no Mike Evans, he's going to be absolutely go off. Baker Mayfield has proven that he's elite. Emeka's just in a phenomenal situation. His separation scores are amazing. He catches the football. He's utilized in the red zone. He's everything that you want from a rookie wide receiver. And look, you just couldn't ask for a better start to the season, but he's going to finish just as strong. If Godwin comes back, I think that only helps him because Godwin will draw coverage away. And, we saw, one game with Chris Godwin, and I think Emeka had 2 touchdowns in that game or at least one and crushed. So he's my number one. I want him everywhere. Unfortunately, you can't get him.
No, he's pretty much unobtainable at this point. I'm just realizing I'm looking at I'm looking at this where it says PPR, and I'm like, there's no way he only scored 16 points. And then I realized that the actual points are here, 23.6. I'm like, what is happening? Why is he not getting the right amount of points? Yeah, I think this is the right call. So
I just want to say my last point about him is you were saying that Aronde is who we wanted Kyle Pitts or who we think Kyle Pitts should be. Emeka Egbuka is who we think Zay Flowers should be. These are the stats that we expect for Zay. Oh, I'm going to do it because Zay Flowers doesn't score the touchdowns, right? He's not utilized in the red zone for whatever reason. Great player, strange usage when you get in close. They want to throw it to the big boys. But Emeka Egbuka gets the red zone role and usage as well. And that's really what we want to see.
I just want to say how blessed we are with the Ohio State wide receivers just in the league.
Amen.
coming into the league soon. So this is another one in Mecca Ibuka. This is just a phenomenal story. We really didn't, think he'd be this good this early. I kind of comped him to like a JSN light. Well, I think the light is kind of gone. I think he's essentially the same player at this point. I think JSN's got, a slightly better situation, but I don't even know if it's slightly better. Like, there's no Godwin in Seattle, right? So it's tough to say. But I got to pick it here at 2, and this is where things pick up a little bit. Could I go one of the QBs? Could I go a running back? I think I'm just going to go with the running back that was taken in the first round. I believe it was pick 8 or 10. I forget off the top of my head. I'm going to take Ashton Genty with the Las Vegas Raiders. This has been a shit situation all over for the Raiders. We did not expect Geno Smith to be this bad. We did not expect the play calling to be this bad. They'll also have injuries to the offensive line too, if I'm not mistaken. So he's shown enough flashes for me to still be an early first-round pick in rookie drafts. Obviously, in startups, I think you could still push him back to the early third. We're going to do a startup next week, so we'll be interested to see where he goes there. But he's shown enough to me, and that he has the draft capital to still be, this early for me.
Yeah,
I really have trouble taking anybody over him at this point. What about you?
I got like 4 guys over him, and it's not just.
I forgot about this.
But it's got nothing to do with him, right? He's looked great, but I think it was a couple of weeks ago. It was that, and by the way, I love his sleeper image here of Michael Myers, just the way he stands in the back.
The standing,
yeah. But look, the problem with Ashton Genty is everything around him. It's got nothing to do with the player. This is the thing, right? If he's not producing for you, this is a player that I have 1 or 2 teams, or I don't have a lot of Ashton Genty, but I have 1 or 2 teams where I'm a heavy contender and I want to move him if I can. But of course, I'm asking for a king's ransom. But the problem is not only the offensive line injuries. He just went through a stretch where he played Chicago, did well against Indy, and then played Tennessee and did well for fantasy. But now he's on bye. He gets Jacksonville, who's been a great defense. Denver, Dallas is a good matchup. Cleveland, the Chargers, Denver
has not been a good match. Well, passing wise, I guess, really.
Denver, Philly, and then Houston. So his schedule is absolutely brutal, especially in the fantasy playoffs. And I'm very concerned about the fact that he hasn't produced unless it's against pretty poor teams. And look, he's a great player. He's going to be great long term, but who knows how long it's going to take the Raiders to figure out what they're going to do with this coaching staff, offensive line, offense, defense.
So you're talking a lot of contender stuff, but right now, I don't know if you noticed, Jeremy, I'm at the 1-2. So I am not a contender at this point.
Good point.
So I think that would be a benefit to me. He is what it says right here, which is pretty crazy. RB13, and I feel like, that can't be right. Is he RB13 on the year?
Yeah, he had a few big weeks.
I see the 33 here, but I feel like it's been worse than that, if that makes sense. That's why the RB13 kind of surprised me. He's a borderline RB1, and one good week, I think that could push him over, because I do think guys like Cam Scatterbo are going to eventually fall off a cliff. But anyway, who are the couple guys that you had over him? Because I know that's who you're probably going to take your next pick here.
At the 103, I'll take one of my guys who's clearly over him. It's Teteroa McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
I have him as my 102, actually. The targets have been there. And even with Bryce Young being as average as he's been in this offense, he's clearly the go-to guy. He's clearly used in the red zone, and he's able to get those touchdowns, but the offense has been poor. He scored 2 against Dallas. That's about it. But he was kind of this guy who was like the top in the league in touchdowns under expected, I guess, in terms of the metric, right? So the targets have been there. The receptions and yardage has been there. I think he's looked great. Is he a true alpha? I'm not sure, but he's going to be in that role for a while because the Carolina has a ton to fix. And the first thing they probably need to fix is the quarterback situation over there in Carolina.
You think that's going to be...
I think
how much more time do you give Bryce?
I mean, I think this is it. He comes back and gets the rest of the season, but what do? You probably bring in a bridge and then you probably look for your quarterback of the future in the next couple of years. But for me, Tet's going to be the guy for the next few years. They can't necessarily afford to bring in high quality weapons because they have so much to fix on the offensive line, so much to fix at quarterback, in my belief, and so much to fix on defense. The defense is coming along, but they need a couple of pieces there to really make themselves a contender. And Dave Canales, the quarterback whisperer, but he did it. He was able to do it with Geno. He was able to do it with Darnold. He was able to do it with Baker, and now nothing.
Yeah, Bryce has showed some flashes, and then it just looks like last year's Bryce before he got benched.
Yeah.
At times too. So I do think you're right, though. Now that I was thinking it over as you were talking, I think this is probably his last year to really kind of cement that job. Is there any fear that, you mentioned the quarterback situation, not only that, but they have to bring in another wide receiver because Leggett has been unreliable between the hands, the injuries. Jimmy Horn could be maybe a nice 3-4 wide receiver. Who's not Eric Renfro, Hunter Renfro, still there. They have to bring somebody else in, right?
Yeah, I think they will. I don't think Jalen Coker is the answer as the.
Oh, that's the other one because he's been hurt too. So
yeah, we'll see. I think he's back this week. We'll see if I think he was back last week, to be honest. We'll see if he gets crazy involved, but. Andy Dalton isn't going to unlock this offense at this stage in his career. So hopefully Bryce comes back in the next 2-3 weeks or whatever it is from a high ankle sprain, and he's able to start dealing and really figure it out with a healthy bunch of weapons. But I just think the answer is a different quarterback.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because they spent the 101 on him, right? And this is year 3, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of like you need the shit or get off the pot at this point. But I know that's got to be hard for a team to kind of admit at this point, right? With my pick 4, I'm going to go with, my guy who really started to flash before he got hurt. That's going to be Omarion Hampton. We just talked about how this Chargers offense just looks good, right? And I think it's on the cusp of being a great offense. The injuries to the offensive line, the running back situation. While, by the way, Vidal has looked great, I think Omarion Hampton is solidified RB1 in that offense, right? And I think when he comes back, it'll even be better than what it is currently. So I am just if I could go out and buy him on the cheap, and I don't think that's necessarily possible because people are going to look at what he was doing before he got hurt. And I believe they're saying after week 10, so we're just a couple weeks away from him being back. The time to buy him should have been right after the injury, to be honest. How do you feel about him going at 1-4 here?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. My concern only lies in the fact that his injury is supposed to be longer than expected. I mean, apparently the news dropped this morning that he's still in a walking boot, right? So that's not
breaking my heart.
It's not ideal. But yeah, Omarion Hampton, the player, has been fantastic. He's part of a phenomenal offense. The Najee Harris injury, though unfortunate for Najee, couldn't have been better for Omarion Hampton and his usage out of the gate. So
you could say the same thing for Vidal too.
Yeah, and you can't put Vidal back in the bottle, I think, as well, right? I think you just got to get him on the field a little bit. But Omarion Hampton is far and away the number 1 here, so I don't mind it. I had him slightly lower, but yeah, I don't mind it at all.
All right, who do you got at the 1-5?
This is a real tricky one, but I'm just going to stick with my rankings as I have them. He's my number 3 overall player in this rookie class. Is Quinshon Judkins. I just think he's looked absolutely phenomenal. The Cleveland offensive line is not what it was a couple of years ago. It's still a decent, halfway decent run blocking line, but it's really regressed. And Quinshon has just looked fantastic. I know he's played a couple of cupcake matchups, especially Miami, but Quinshon Judkins is just everything that we wanted Ashton Genty to be, and it's not from a talent standpoint. It's just from a production standpoint. So
and Travion Henderson.
Yeah, but 100%. But the biggest thing for me for Quinshon is they're not even allowing Dylan Sampson on the field when he was the guy who was running the show while Quinshon was out for a week or two. So, Jerome Ford gets some looks, but they're talking about him as being traded potentially at the deadline. For me, Quinshon's been everything we've wanted him to be, and I would not be upset if he was the RB1 on my fantasy squad.
No, I wouldn't be either. And to be honest with you, what he's done after missing the first few weeks of the season, right?
Yeah.
Already as a rookie running back in this offense, it's damn impressive.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with pick 6 here. I believe we said this is tight end premium, right?
Do it.
Okay, I'm going to go Tyler Warren. I feel really good about what they're doing with Tyler Warren and the Colts offense. The Colts offense has looked, I think, much better than we all expected. And it's been funneling through a guy, obviously Jonathan Taylor, but pass-wise, it's been funneling through Tyler Warren and Michael Pittman. And this was my biggest fear for Josh Downs, is that Tyler Warren was going to really eat into what he does. And I have a tough time keeping Tyler Warren out of my top 4 Dynasty tight end ranks because just how good he's looked already. Yep. How are you feeling with this pick here?
Yeah, 100%. He's the next guy on my board. He's the 4th overall player for me. And, not only is he receiving, he's running it in. He's doing some wildcat looks to the goal line. I mean, this guy's fantastic. The thing that I love about Tyler Warren the most is that the team who drafted him had a plan to use him out of the gate. This is our issue with Colston Loveland, but Tyler Warren, fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better start to a rookie season.
Who do you got at the 1-7?
Well, I'm going to take over the show for 5 seconds, and I got to throw up Jamie's comment here. Is this a super flex? You're damn right it's a super flex. Yeah. We are drafting Jackson Dart here. Jackson Dart, I think, has looked fantastic in limited work against some of the best defenses in the league. That's really what it is for me. He's out there playing a little bit of backyard ball, but the thing is his rushing has been phenomenal. Now, Mike, I've shared this with a few people, and I'm trying to remember the exact stat because it was so long ago in the offseason when we were talking Dart or Milrow. But Jalen Milrow was considered one of the best rushing quarterback prospects in a generation. People were like, oh, he's basically Lamar on the ground or something to that extent. He was fantastic on the ground. But Jalen Milrow had roughly 42 yards per game rushing over his final 3 seasons in college as a quarterback. Do you know what Jackson Dart had rushing over his final 3 seasons as a college quarterback per game?
If I'm not mistaken, it was better than Jalen Milrow, but I'm not.
It wasn't, but it was damn close. It was like 38 or 39. It was damn close. It was like 3 yards fewer per game when he was finally starting at Ole Miss than Jalen Milrow. So this Jackson Dart rushing usage shouldn't be a surprise to us. He's looked fantastic, and other than that one awful interception that he threw last week, he's looked pretty damn good throwing the football too. So look, you cannot defend, or I'll say this, you cannot consistently stop an offense that has a running back doing what Cam Scatabo is doing and a quarterback doing what Jackson Dart has been able to do. Can you find ways to neutralize them? Can you find ways to slow them down? Yes, but that team's going to score. And so you better hope that you score a couple of touchdowns so you can beat the Giants.
Yeah, for sure. He has been, much better than expected already, right?
100%.
Especially with Malik Neighbors going down and, it's being the Wan'Dale Robinson, Dio Johnson show kind of. Obviously, Cam Scatabo too, but from a passing game, it's been more of those two than anybody else. So I have been impressed with Dart. I'm kind of tempering my expectations just slightly, right? Because I do think this could come back down to earth. We did see him get hurt against Philadelphia, and then, what's his name? Brian Dable kind of went in a panic for a good 10 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see. He's got, we just talked about Jaden Daniels. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to be smarter when running the ball. Obviously, he's got that machismo, as the kids say, to try to, win those extra yards, but he's got to take care of his body. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. My next pick here, it might be a little different than where you would probably go. So I'm interested to see what you say. I'm still going to go Travis Hunter here at pick 1.
Same.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're in the same world here. I think he's been pretty good as a wide receiver. I feel like, you talk about Tyler Warren and the Colts knowing what they wanted to do with him. I think the Jags haven't figured out what exactly they want to do with Travis Hunter. But last few weeks, we'll go back 3 weeks ago against the Chiefs, three receptions with 3 targets, 64 yards. That's a decent outing. But then we got 4 receptions, 7 targets, The targets are there. The receptions are not great. Targets are there. Then the week, this past week, 8 receptions, 14 targets, 101 yards, and a touchdown. That was really obviously the breakout game for him. But the targets are there, right, as of right now. So I'm interested to see how this continues on. I just need Jacksonville to give us a better role for what he's doing. I just think he's an electric player. I love throwing that word out for guys like him. I want to see more, and I think a lot of it falls on Trevor Lawrence as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Liam Cohen's offense is kind of more or less what we expected it to be from a production perspective. Maybe he doesn't have the same pieces that he had in Tampa, but I don't think it matters. I think these guys have the ability to produce. You just need to start funneling it to your players. And like you said, it's a Trevor Lawrence situation, but you can put Trevor Lawrence in better situations to succeed than kind of intermediate to deep passing shots, multiple times per game. You need to set him up a little on some easy crossers, right? Can you imagine Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter being used like Jameson Williams was used last year, where you just throw him the 5-yard crosser and he goes for 60. I mean, these guys are capable of that. We saw a little bit of that with Brian Thomas over the last week or two, but I think Travis Hunter has the ability, especially if Thomas is out for an extended time, or if he's a little hobbled based on his injury. I think Travis Hunter can take over, be the one here, and really develop quickly. But they also have to give him even more rest on defense. I'm not sure what his defensive snap count is, but over the last 2 weeks,
it's kind of been all over the place.
But he's up about 20% on offense, 78 in week 6 against Seattle, 78% of snaps, and now 87 in week 7 against the Rams. They needed him, but they need to keep using him.
For sure. I wish they would use him better, like those crossing routes, especially with how good he is after the catch, like we saw at Colorado. Yep. Obviously, we're talking college NFL, but he was just really good with the ball in his hands. He knew how to make people miss. I think the biggest thing for him was playing corner. Kind of shows how to create yards after catch, make people miss in the open field. I can't wait to see what they do with him when they finally unlock him. Who is your pick at 9?
Mike, I'm going to do it. This is that part of the draft, and I'm going to make you scroll. It's Oronde Gadsden.
Oh, my goodness.
9. You have to, man. That makes him tight end 2. Really Look, it's Cam Scatabo is available. Harold Fannin, Colston Loveland, RJ Harvey, who I know we both love, is available and just hasn't been getting the run. I don't care. Oronde Gadsden has been fantastic, and he's being used. The offense, one of the best passing offenses in the league, that is the highest volume. I haven't crunched the numbers, but I know I'm right. The highest volume passing attack in the league. He is being funneled through him as a rookie. I mean, it couldn't be better for him, but he is showing out every single game. We talked about it at the top. And right now, like I said, you can offer a first for him, but I don't think that guarantees that you get him on your team.
No, I'm also just looking at the drop off after kind of what we just did here. We had a lot of hope for this class, with the drop off starting to hit earlier than I think we expected. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. This is kind of, where, especially since we're talking tight end premium, that I would be going for the tight end position. And we talked about Oronde ad nauseum already. Got the pom-poms out and talked about him for a good 10 minutes. So I'm going to go my tight end, who I've been believing in, and I got to scroll to find him. It's going to be Harold Fannin Jr. I think they're just a quarterback away. We've already seen what they're doing with him, right? He's running everything different than David Njoku is, right? And I don't know if I'm sure you've watched, but these Cleveland Browns games where they just give him the ball in the middle of the field, it is taking at least 3 to 4 defenders to bring him down each and every time. And I love to see it. He's got to be up there at missed tackles force. I forgot to bring that up, but he's just been an all-around monster. I think that they, could easily move on from David Njoku at this trade deadline. That's probably the guy that could be moved, by the way. That was actually a question I forgot to bring up at the top of the show, but seeing as how we're already almost an hour in and we haven't even finished draft yet, I guess it's good that we missed it. So Njoku could be on the move. Who do you got here? I'm sorry. Talk about Harold Fannin.
Yeah, we don't need to talk too much about him. You said it. He's being utilized. He's easily the best target that they have. They're funneling their offense with the rookie quarterback Dylan Gabriel through the two tight ends, and Njoku was hurt. Fannin, the usage will continue. They need more weapons around him to open him up a little bit more. But Gabriel can't throw outside. So Harold Fannin is going to get, he's locked into 5-6 targets a game. And we know he's been able to do good things on limited usage. If he ever gets up into the 9-10 territory, forget about it. He's going to look like a run that gets it.
For sure. The good thing is now that, we're talking about Dylan Gabriel being the quarterback, but he's now doing this with his second quarterback. Joe Flacco was the first, and he was still feasting with Flacco at quarterback. So I think I don't want to say quarterback proof already because it's, we're talking 8 games in, but you're doing it with 2 quarterbacks that we believe that are subpar already. I'm interested. Who's your next guy?
And I'll mention the next guy, but what I want to say about those 2 tight ends specifically is, unlike kind of some of the other tight ends that we see, these guys don't need to be funneled targets because they're wide open. They're like wide receivers out there. They're making guys miss, and you can't cover them with a linebacker. You're going to struggle covering them with a safety. So these are the 2 types of guys, and this is the prototype that you want. You said it on the tweet earlier. We said at the top, this is who we wanted Kyle Pitts to be. Kyle Pitts may be rounding into that, but these guys are that already.
Just took way longer than we hoped, right?
100%.
Who do you got at 111?
111. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the juggernaut himself. It's Cam Skattebo. Skattebo has been fantastic. I mean, I know he's a giant, but in his last 4 games, he's received 25, 15, 19, and 16 carries on the ground. That's got to be top 5 in the league. He's also received 2, 7, 2, and 6 targets. Unbelievable usage for Cam Skattebo. So he's coming through on usage, but at the same time, I don't think that this falls off. Tyrone Tracy's been healthy. Tyrone Tracy even scored a touchdown last week. Cam Skattebo still RB11 on the week against Denver. So, I mean, he's absolutely crushing. Jackson Dart is checking down. They're using Cam Skattebo kind of in the passing game the way they used him in college. I mean, the guy's running wheel routes as a rookie. It's absolutely ridiculous in the best possible way. And he's the heart and soul of this team. So you can't stop using him. You won't stop using him in a lost season for the Giants that are actually winning games. Yeah, he's great. He's an electric player. And he's definitely a first round talent.
I hate to say it because he drives me insane. To be honest with you, I wasn't super impressed with it. I think I said it against the Eagles, 3 touchdowns, Jalen Carter being out, your best defensive player, and then your corner being out, good tackler in a corner. Obviously that diminishes things. But then what he did against Denver in Denver,
crazy.
Just under 4 yards a carry, which is not the best, but it's still good enough against that defense. And then what he did in the air, right? So I'm coming around to Skattebo a little bit. I'm just not there yet. The absolute, monstrosity of hits that he takes every single week, that's gotta, beat up on you. He has been hurt already. We've seen Tyrone Tracy be a competent back. He had the easiest touchdown in the world last week. So I don't want to give him too much credit for that. But again, I do like this pick. This is kind of around where I probably would have taken him. But, the tight ends for me were just, too much.
I've got a quick vibes comp for you. Nothing just but pure vibes. What do you think of a Cam Skattebo comp to Peyton Hillis?
That's just the easiest. If he gets the Madden cover, I'm going to be so pissed off. I mean, that would kill all fantasy dynasty value if he gets the Peyton cover or the Madden.
Well, it'll kill his value too, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. At the 112 here, I gotta stop the bleeding here a little bit. And it is a super flex league like we talked about. I'm going to take Cam Ward. Still a guy that I believe in from a talent aspect. This might be, I think, higher than you would have taken him, right? Slightly,
yes.
Or
correct.
How much higher?
I had him mid-second. Actually, no. Okay. Like 203.
Okay, so we're not super far off. I'm just, super flex, 101 quarterback, talent that I see in him. Eventually, when they get this offense going, I think could be a guy who's a high-end QB2, right?
Yep.
I do think he's got the talent to be a low-end quarterback 1. It has to be what Tennessee puts around him, and that organization seems to be kind of faltering for the past several years now. So we'll see where this goes for him. Obviously, we're a few picks off, but it doesn't seem like you're super anti taking Cam Ward here.
not at all. I have no issue with the player. It's just a situation. It's going to take him a little longer. I think this is like a third-year breakout type player at this point, but he's got it. And if you're a team at the 112 and you can afford to kind of wait and your quarterback situation is solidified, he's the perfect type of pick here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even if you need like a guy to come in at QB2 that you could probably put in 15 points a week, right? To at least keep you afloat if you have an injury or a bye week or something like that. Who do you got at 2-1? You're back up.
I have it, but I'm going to make a slight audible here. I'm taking the guy I had at 2-2 instead because I know I'm going to steal him from you. It's RJ Harvey at the 201 here. RJ Harvey has looked so damn good. The problem is they don't use him. Sean Payton has
that's a pretty big problem.
Sean Payton's mind is he's a ridiculous human being in all respects, but he wins football games. So that's really all you can ask of your head coach. And he's not completely hated by the locker room, but I'm sure he's hated by RJ Harvey because RJ Harvey, you need to put him on the field more. I mean, J.K. Dobbins has looked serviceable and to even good, but I don't think it's J.K. Dobbins completely keeping RJ Harvey off the field. It's Sean Payton keeping RJ Harvey off the field. Maybe doesn't know the playbook, and maybe he's got a lot of things to learn in protection, and all those things can be true. But he's looked damn good when he touched the football.
He's just, again, electric, knows how to make people miss. And he's just a tougher runner than people give him credit for because they look at the 5'8" size, right? And they see 205. But the guy's got, like, strong legs, keeps himself moving at all times. You are right, though. It's the snap share. We really aren't seeing anything great snap share-wise when it comes to J.K. Dobbins. J.K.'s been fine. But you mentioned Sean Payton, old school coach, likes to get his vets in first, especially as a competitive team. They were a playoff team last year. They're probably going to be a playoff team again this year, obviously. So he wants to keep his vets out there going. But again, I don't like to talk injuries, but, we've seen J.K. Dobbins get hurt in the past. He's never played a full NFL season in his entire career. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out as the season goes on.
And Dobbins is slowing down as well. If you just kind of take a look at his production, he hasn't scored in a couple of weeks against the Jets and the Giants. No big task. We'll see what happens at Dallas this week. I think the Broncos win or the Broncos have a really good offense, but they have to throw the ball a lot more. RJ Harvey going to be involved. This could be a really big week for RJ.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that you stole my guy, wait, make sure I'm clicking on the right thing here. Now that you stole my guy, now I got to make an audible pick here. And I'm not happy at all. I don't love, we really have hit the wall, right? We are in almost rapid fire sections here. I just wanted to make sure there was nobody lower that I was missing, right? Oh God, I don't want to do it. So I'm not going to. I have seen some very positives about Luther Burden recently when it comes to targets per route run and everything like that. So I think they are going to start using him more in the slot. They have been using Olamide Zaccheaus there a lot. So I think that's kind of what's keeping him out of the lineup. Zaccheaus does okay, but like these crossing routes that he's dropping, Luther Burden's taking them to the house. At least I hope. So I'm going to take a flyer on the guy that I had as my wide receiver 1 pre-draft. So at the 2-1, the 2-2, I'm okay with it here, especially with the fall off, in general of, where we're kind of at. And I still believe Luther Burden slightly over Colston Loveland at this point.
Yeah, I just had it the other way around. But yeah, Luther Burden for me is a really great pick here. I think I met him at the 2.5 or 2.4. Okay, so we're right there. I mean, he's looked great. He's got to start ramping up the usage pretty soon, but we don't know what the hell Ben Johnson's doing. He's doing his best to win football games. And it's probably it's probably just a situation of protecting Caleb Williams as much as possible. I have huge biases against Caleb Williams as a player, but I think the talent is undeniable. He's fantastic.
He's been fine. Yeah.
He's been fine because he's a fantastic athlete who can chuck the ball off platform wherever he wants. He's got one of the lowest on target scores, right? Accuracy scores of any starting quarterback. And he's still been fine for fantasy. He still gets there with these legs and he still makes amazing throws off platform. The problem is the guy throws off the front foot all the time. Like
Oh
Ben
my God.
Johnson, just teach him to throw, just teach him to sit back in the pocket a little bit and throw off his back foot. And I think this is like a Josh Allen type ascension if he can get the mechanics right, like Josh Allen did, because everything else is there. He's just not playing the position properly. You know what I mean? So
you're tickling my fancy when you talk like that.
We'll see.
My biggest thing with him is when I watch Caleb Williams is, especially with a guy like Luther Burden, these short routes that are just right in front of him. He has a tendency to throw like a little bit outside the wide receiver's frame, almost like he's leading them a little bit. You don't need to do that. Put the ball right on them. I don't know if it's more what he's trying to do or if it's more of like, I also notice he's got these happy feet kind of, right?
Yeah.
Where he just ball comes out too quick. It kind of sails. 100%. It kind of goes off platform. So I would like to see him just settle a little bit.
Agree.
Who do you got here? 2-3.
Yeah, it's another Caleb Williams target. It's Colston Loveland. I mean, Colston Loveland had him ahead of Luther Burden. We don't know which guy's going to be utilized more, but look, Cole Kmet's hurt. If Cole Kmet doesn't play this week, hopefully we see one of these two guys kind of break out and have their game. We really should. But gotta love Roma Dunze. Gotta love the entire situation around him. The only issue for these pass catchers is that I forget who I heard talking about it. It might have been Evan Silva or Matt Waldman or one of these elite minds of the fantasy world, saying that the Bears offensive line is a much better run blocking unit than they are a pass blocking unit, and they can get away with that because Caleb Williams can move around back there. But yeah, they're going to run the football a lot more. They've proven out of the bye that DeAndre Swift has been the focal point, that Monange is getting involved as well. So I love these guys. I think they're going to be fine long term. Can they do it soon? I don't know, but I still want one, if not both of them, on my team.
If you don't see it from Loveland this week without Cole Kmet, if Cole Kmet doesn't play, are you a little bit more worried?
No, I think he's going to be fine. Look, we know DJ Moore is out of town, and it'll be Burden, as we talked about. We know Kmet's out of town at the end of the year, so it'll be Burden, it'll be Rome, and it'll be Loveland. They'll bring in another guy. It won't matter who it is, and it'll be those three.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree. I kind of like where he's at now as opposed to where he was, after the draft and everything like that. He was a back end first kind of guy, maybe even mid first, just because of the high draft capital that he had. But I think I'm at the point where I'm taking the 3 tight ends ahead of him pretty easily right now, especially just off what we've seen. And you said it earlier, you're more of what I've seen than what I haven't seen yet. And I 100% agree with that. With my next pick here, doesn't feel great, but I kind of like what I've seen, right? Matthew Golden. The Packers offense, the wide receiver usage is just all over the place, right?
Yeah.
He's a guy that I could feel pretty good about weekly throwing into my flex, right? But if he's my wide receiver 2 or 3 in 3 wide receiver leagues, I'm not super confident in that, right? I feel a little bit weary about that. But at the 2-4, getting a solid flex option, a guy who I think, especially with the big playability that he has, could get me plus 10. I feel good about this spot. I just, the 2 wide receiver sets with the Green Bay Packers is really fucking annoying. It's usually him and Dobbs or Dobbs and somebody else. Dobbs could be out of town after this season because of, we've been thinking about that for a while. He could be a guy moved at the deadline. Jaden Reed's injury, Dontavian Wicks stinks. Tucker Kraft, I think, is the primary pass catcher right now.
Yes.
But Matthew Golden, being the number 2B in that situation is not the worst thing in the world, getting him at the 2-4.
Yeah. I had him significantly lower, but it's for the reasons that you mentioned. It's his usage. I think the player has looked fantastic. It seems like he's picked it up relatively quickly.
He has, yeah.
And I really loved his tape. So I have no issue with taking him here. It's really just a question of what they decide to do with this wide receiver room, as you're saying. Romeo Dobbs, I think, probably stays simply because I think because he's having such a good year, and because he's proven to be Jordan Love's almost safety valve. I think that he probably stays. But Christian Watson, they're not going to get rid of him, but I think they probably don't re-sign him. Jaden Reed, they don't use him, so they don't need to re-sign him. So if it's Golden, if it's Dobbs, and if it's Kraft, I think you're fine. You just draft another workhorse back. Maybe you already got one there. If Lloyd can come around, and
man, don't get me started on that one. That hurts my heart.
Yeah, I think he's close to a return. I think maybe in the next couple of weeks we see.
I feel like we've been close to. I feel like we've been close to return forever now. You said significantly lower. Where are we talking?
I'm doing some numbers. 21. So back end. So what's that? 209.
I mean, that's not. I wouldn't say that's significantly low. Oh yeah, it kind of is.
5
picks off. But like we're at the point of this draft where like these guys were back end first and now falling into the second round, which is not the worst thing in the world. Especially he was a first round pick too. So we'd like to see that. Who do you got here at the 2-5? Because this is where it starts to get like not great.
I have to end the slide. I got to take the guy who looks like he's at the top, even though the fine print is fine. It's Travion Henderson. Maybe this is a homer pick. Maybe this is a homer pick, but look, he hasn't been getting on the field, and we saw Mike Vrabel like scream, "We found our 5-minute back" at the end of the game last week, and he was talking about practice squadee Terrell Jennings, who they promptly put back to the practice squad after the game. It's such a horrible beginning to a career for Travion Henderson. And the one thing that we were hanging our hats on as fantasy analysts is, he's was a phenomenal pass blocker. He's going to be out there in all situations because he can pass block. He's been absolutely terrible at pass blocking. He doesn't seem to have picked up the McDaniels playbook, which, is likely a very complicated playbook. He's got to run options and all these things. So once he gets that together, he's going to be just fine. The problem is I don't know that it happens this season. And if you drafted him this year, you probably could get him at a discount next year. So why you even bother drafting him in the first round? So right here is okay. It's appropriate, but it's unfortunate given our hopes for this player.
Yeah, I really thought we'd see a lot more, year one from him. You mentioned McDaniels having a complicated playbook, obviously hasn't really worked out for him other than being in the New England Patriots. But, it's tough with Vrabel too, because again, old school mind head coach, usually vets, but they're also winning football games with Ramondre Stevenson. And besides him putting the football on the ground, it's been super frustrating. He's been decent, right? So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I was going to take him over Golden here, but I kind of like what Golden has done in the limited opportunities that he has compared to what Travion has done so far this regular season. Because the preseason, it was looking like he was about to be the RB1 of the class, especially what he was able to do. This one's going to be somebody that I didn't have in this spot, and I know you probably didn't have in this spot pre-draft, but
take my guy.
I'm going to do it. I wonder if it is your guy. Let's see. Where the hell is he? Oh, my God. Where the hell is he? Because I really
just
like
type
this
him in.
offense.
Type him in at the top.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. I'm going to take Torrey Horton here. He has. Yeah, was that not your guy?
Not my guy, but I love it. I had a lot of Torrey Horton in the fourth.
Yeah, was he a 4th-round pick for you even in this?
Oh no, just generally speaking, like in actual rookie drafts. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I really like what they've done with him, right? And I like what this offense looks like, believe it or not, with Sam Darnold, which is crazy to think about. So he has had some flashes, a couple touchdowns here and there, and he's got a wide receiver 1 across from him already. What was he, a 5th or 6th round pick, right? If I'm not mistaken, the NFL draft. And then he's already wide receiver 47, so he's showing some flashes. Once Kupp's out of the way, I think he could be an electric guy. I kind of like him here. Is he significantly lower for you too?
Yeah, he's like kind of back end of the third, but it's really only because that we haven't seen a ton of production for him. I love the usage. I love what he's done on the field. I love the fact that Sam Darnold is slinging it. So everything's in place for Torrey Horton. I think he's going to be just fine, and he's going to be great next season. I think he's got a real opportunity to step into a heavy volume role as early as next season. But it'll be between him or Arroyo or Barner, whoever gets kind of that heavy volume role. But Horton has proven that he belongs in the league. He's looked great so far.
Yeah, I've been extremely impressed to the point where I'm taking him here, right? I'm taking him
Yeah,
over guys
love
that
it.
are taking in the second round of the NFL draft. 3 wide receivers that I can look at right now that were all taken in the second round of the NFL draft, who I've been more impressed with him than any 3 of those guys, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Who do you got at 2-7 here?
I'm going to make you scroll again because I'm going to take Woody Marks.
See, I
Well
thought
above.
about that, but
Yeah.
I've got another running back over him that is a similar player.
Yeah, I got one guy close to him, but there's a couple of guys that I hear who you're talking about. But for me, Woody Marks, he's just proven that he can do it. Now the problem is that his team, the Houston Texans, do not have an offensive line, so they might as well just be rolling out 5 fans at this point, just standing there in helmets. But yeah, it's been really bad for this team. But Woody Marks has been kind of a lone bright spot. He's electric. Nick Chubb has produced in his role, but we're starting to see a takeover. And it's primarily because since the jump, Woody Marks has been way more, you use the term electric, has been way more electric than Nick Chubb. Every single time he's touched the football, he adds some juice to this offense, and they're finally utilizing him that way. He received 10 targets, but also more importantly for me, played 63% of the snaps last week in Seattle. After the bye week, this is the jump that you like to see for rookies. The production will come. I really like Woody Marks, what he's done and what he's going to be able to do through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I like Woody Marks too. There is a severe offensive line problem in
So bad.
or in Houston. They really
Also
need to
in
address
Tennessee.
that. Yeah, also in Tennessee. But I think they really need to address that before I get really confident in any running back in that offense, right? But I do think he's got just the pass catching PPR upside to kind of keep him afloat from a fantasy aspect. So I like that pick here. I think I could wait on my next guy just slightly longer. So I'm going to lean into a guy that I was really high on who did have a touchdown yesterday. And I do think Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen, like you mentioned, could be out the door. I'm going to go with Trey Harris, second round pick, right? I still believe in the talent. I still believe in the big playability that he brings to that offense as a guy who can win on the boundary, win in the power slot situation. I like Trey Harris. And again, this has become a value because he was an early second guy. 2-8. I kind of like it. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. Like you said, he's been scoring a few touchdowns here and there, and the usage is creeping up. The problem is there's just far too many mouths to feed, as we know, in that offense. Even next season, does he get on the field as much as we want? I don't know. But the player looks really good. We were having, a week ago, an argument between Trey Harris and Jaden Higgins. I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. But if Nico sits and Higgins can't produce this week, then that's a clear Trey Harris W right there. But yeah, Jaden Higgins, I think, has the better runway, fewer mouths to feed. But like you said, that offensive line is so terrible. So look, Trey Harris has looked good in his limited opportunities. Unfortunately, I think the opportunities stay limited unless there's an injury.
And I think the big thing for him is a guy like Harbaugh could be won over with run blocking. And I think Trey really brings that. We were kind of seeing that last night, especially the first snap of the game. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that. I was lucky to be enough right at the TV when it was on. He was, I believe, in a 1 wide receiver set. Maybe it was 2 wide receiver sets, and he was out there blocking. So that means to me that Harbaugh has belief in him to be that guy on the boundary. Who is your guy at 2-9?
You're going with the wide receiver, so I'm going to stick with the running backs, and I'm going to, against my better judgment, go with Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Big Bill.
Oh, man.
It's so hard for him because he's been so up and down, but he's been so up and down in our minds as a fantasy asset as well. He had so much hype coming in. Many of us knew that he wasn't going to live up to that hype, but at the same time, he's had a few down weeks, and I think it just sets up well for him to have a good rest of season. The question is, are they going to continue to give him the work over the Chris Rodriguez's and the Jeremy McNichols? He's been getting it the last 3 weeks, 14, 17, and 13 carries, but he hasn't totally produced with them except for that one game against the Chargers. But after the KC game this week, he gets Seattle, another tough one, but then it lightens up. Detroit, Miami, and then after a bye, Denver, not great, Minnesota, but the Giants, Philly, and Dallas in there. So he's got the opportunity to, he's got 4 really nice matchups in the final 8 games of the fantasy season. And if he can kind of explode in those games and be serviceable in the other games and receive the lion's share of the load like he probably deserves, I think he's going to end up being a really good asset this offseason in Dynasty.
Yeah, I'm still in the camp of if you can trade him for a second, I would do it.
I would also do
Immediately.
that.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, and I'm majorly on the board for that.
Sure.
I don't think the running back for this team is on this roster.
Maybe.
I think Jacory. I like Jacory. I think he's a solid RB2 at the fumbling. Obviously, fumbles. Other than playing in New England, kind of ruin things for you. 2 fumbles in the last 3 games. 2 fumbles lost. So it'll be interesting to see how he's got to clean that up. Kansas City is a very opportunistic defense as well. Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, like those edges, or that defensive line, the linebackers, everybody kind of hunts the football. So this is going to be a tough matchup for him. It's Denver too, you mentioned, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm in the band of trading him for a second.
But I'd just say that Jaden Daniels with, a healthy Jaden Daniels back there opens things up. So it would be nice to see that. If we get to see that this year, though, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's going to definitely change things because defenses will have to adjust to Jaden pulling the ball and running. So this is, again, tough. I want to go with my heart here, but I think my heart can wait slightly longer. I don't know if I want to wait, though. I want to wait for my life to be over. And I thank you for bringing up that I can type in the names. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with what I wasn't going to do. I'm going to go with Elick Ayomanor.
Nice.
Has looked okay, right? In spouts. He's probably been the best wide receiver on that football team. Unfortunately for me, who had a lot of belief in Calvin Ridley. But again, wasn't a guy that I was super into in the coming out of the NFL draft. Wasn't a huge separator, but could win above the rim. And that's kind of what Cam Ward uses him for, right? Just put the ball up, let a guy like Ayomanor win. So again, I don't love it, but I'm not super against this pick.
No, I don't mind it at all. And like you said, Calvin Ridley and whatever's going on with him, I saw some report that he's being investigated as well now for
what? I didn't see
don't
that.
know. I'll take a look at it in a second. But Elick, the targets are there, which is nice. The connection isn't there yet, but he's proving he can do a lot with a little. And so for me, the usage is there. That the production will follow at some point. Does it follow this year? I don't know. But like we talked about, that offense is in shambles. I don't think they have any clue what they're doing. And once they figure it out, this guy is going to be a rocket ship. He's already developing that rapport. So look, year 2, year 3, if we're talking about third-year breakouts, this could be a guy who's very much there. But unfortunately, it may take that long because just what's going on with this team.
Is this kind of where you would take him to, or a little bit later?
I have him later. I have him in the 3rd round because there's a few guys from a production standpoint who have been a little bit better. And there's a path for them. For Elick, he's got the clear path. The problem is the team will hold him back. So.
Okay. Who do you got here then?
Let's do Mason Taylor. Taylor.
Yeah. I thought about it. Yeah, you want to talk about a good pathway, but a bad situation. Mason Taylor also falls in that category.
100%. But if we're talking about tight end premium, he is a tight end, and he's a young and a good one. When he receives the targets, he's done well with it. And for me, that's really what I want to see. We know a new quarterback is likely coming in next season. Hopefully that's a rookie quarterback so they can start the rapport, and get it building. But between Mason Taylor and I assume Garrett Wilson, who should be there forever if the Jets have any brain cells in the front office, they lock his ass down. But that's the thing is, you really just hope that they kind of keep the core of this offense together and find a quarterback who can sling it, because if they do, Mason Taylor will succeed. He's looked great.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I like it. I liked Mason Taylor. He kind of gave me, the Jake Ferguson. I mean, other than what Jake Ferguson's doing right now, the Dalton Schultz tight ends. They're just a good PPR asset to have, or a good tight end premium because of the targets, receptions. It's just that Jets organization looks to be in a flux right now. Like Aaron Glenn, we're talking about him being fired after 1 year, which I kind of think is a little premature just because of how bad that team is. It's not all his fault. Obviously, he inherited a lot of what he has right now. So It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Again, you're getting him at the tight end 5, so that should be a win, especially with the second round here. It's the second round tight end himself. I like that pick. This is where it gets ugly because we're really in dart throw territory. We're going to go rapid fire here in the third round in a second, but I don't like this at all. I don't like anything going on right now. There's a couple guys I had higher faith in. Whoa, what did I just hit? I accidentally hit a button. I've just filtered something. I don't love any of this. This is where
as you're deciding, it appears that I've been got by a crap account. The NFL Drop is saying that he's under investigation, details pending. That's Calvin Ridley. Grok says this is a satire account. So
you've been had. Listen, I think we've all been had in our lives when it comes to Twitter. This is bad. I'm going to go with, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go with a guy that, had a good week last week because of a blowout, but I do think he's in a really good situation. That's Brashard Smith, right?
Ooh,
just
like
a high PPR asset. A guy that I think Andy Reid could use, like a Brian Westbrook, going back to his Eagles days. Just Brian Westbrook was one of the pioneers of PPR, fantasy-wise kind of guy. And we've seen that from Brashard so far. It's just, he's got Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, these two, bad running backs ahead of him that I think they'll start giving him more run as he shows that he's more electric. I know this is probably early for you, but we're at dark throw territory at this point.
Yeah, agree. The next guy I'm going to pick is a little bit early too, but I'm going to do it anyway. But with Brashard Smith, for me, he looks great. I really want to see him get that Jerick McKinnon role. Unfortunately, I don't know if the Jerick McKinnon role exists as much anymore because of all of the amazing, healthy wide receivers they have on this damn team.
Right.
And Patrick Mahomes is running it a lot more too, right? I don't know if he was unhealthy the last couple of years or the offense was just schemed up differently, but Patrick Mahomes is running it at an insane clip. And I know he talked in the offseason about getting his body conditioned to do that, even more so than he had in years past. So I'm hopeful for Brashard Smith. He looks great, but unfortunately, I don't think Pacheco's going anywhere. He's going to get the short down and distance, and I think I don't think the Jerick McKinnon role is there. So in my redraft leagues, I'm trying to trade Brashard Smith. In dynasty leagues, I'll happily keep it.
Pacheco should be done after this year, contract-wise, right? If I'm not mistaken.
He should be, but I don't know that he's going to go for. He's going to be an expensive asset on the free agent market either. So
no, this is his last year. Him and Kareem Hunt could be out the door this year, but they have to bring somebody back. Yeah, somebody's got to be brought back. Who do you got at the 3-1 here?
I have a couple of names who I probably like a little bit more, but I really like the situation for Tez Johnson, so I'm going to pick him here.
Oh, son of a...
Yeah.
I almost did that at 211, but I was like, he's going to let him fall to me. Damn it.
We talked about him at the top, so we don't need to say too much, but his situation's fantastic. Mike Evans, unfortunately, is probably looking at calling it a career. We're not going to hear about that, but Jalen McMillan will be back at some point. I mean, an offense of Egbuka, McMillan, and Tez Johnson sounds really nice. I know Godwin has that big contract and he'll probably be back for a bit, but Tez Johnson is someone who you could draft here in the third and sell for an early second, perhaps mid-second for sure right now. So I like the value that he presents, and I think he's going to do really well throughout the rest of this year. Playoff schedule, you don't like him against Atlanta week 15, but Carolina week 16 as not the primary target, so won't see JC Horn, hopefully, and then Miami in week 17. You want to play Tez Johnson those weeks as well.
Yeah, I'm hurt by this because I thought you would let him go to this in the next pick here. That's why I took Brashard Smith there.
Yeah.
I like this pick even as a future wise because we've seen the wide receiver 3 in this offense still be fantasy relevant. We saw it last year with names escaping me right now.
Was it Shepard?
Jalen McMillan.
Oh, McMillan.
Jalen McMillan being a guy that was relevant. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues on. I like Tez, so I like this pick here. My next pick, man, we are really letting some people fall here, but they haven't shown anything, right? But again, I think I'm going to take my guy Elijah Arroyo here.
Yes,
second round pick. Yeah, second round pick, tight end, a guy who I think can be playing that Oronde Gadsden role in like he does it in LA. I think they could do that with Arroyo, it just hasn't happened yet, and obviously it's a different offense. So I like Arroyo, still a believer. He has shown here and there things. He's just not the primary blocker like AJ Barner is.
Yeah. And Barner's been great, which is the only
Sure.
problem with Arroyo, but Arroyo's looked really good in his own right. I really like him. And if they figure out how to use him the way they're using Aronde Gadsden, or the way that they're using, I'm trying to think of another team that has a really good run blocker and then the pass catching tight end. I guess maybe like
Cleveland.
Yeah,
like his
the way they're using Fannin, that's true.
Space. Yeah, Fannin
true.
blocker in space, and then they've got David Njoku who can stretch the field. So
yeah, these two tight ends should be on the field together a ton. I think Arroyo's had like 4 targets in the past couple of games as well. So it's looking really good for him long term. He's a great player. No, he's had 1, 2, and 5 in his last 3, but 4 for 42 last week. On a bye week, you like to see him ascend after the bye. I think he will, as long as Barner doesn't get more.
Exactly. Who's your 3-3 here?
I want it to be Jaden Higgins, but it's not going to be. It's going to be Kyle Monangai. I got to go Monangai here.
I like that. I thought about him here as well, but I like this pick. Good pick by you.
Yeah, he looks really good. He's not the number 1 on his team. DeAndre Swift has looked excellent. And you cannot play Monangai over Swift, but in short down and distance, I mean, he's clearly the guy over Swift, and he can carry the load in his own right. So I really like I really like the 1-2 punch there. That could be something that maybe could continue for Caleb Williams' tenure and development in a Ben Johnson system. Maybe even over the years, in the next year or two, Monangai can take over and be the 1A as opposed to the 1B, because Swift is probably better utilized in that 10 to 12 touch per game role where he can catch more passes and then be used on draw plays and things like that. But Monangai's been great, and I think he's going to continue to ascend.
Yeah, I like this pick here. He is the short yardage guy. And you mentioned it earlier in the beginning of the episode when we were talking about the Chicago Bears. The offensive line has been really good in run protection. So I think that should continue. I think, Monangai is a riser. I really like this pick. He's a really good running back. He just doesn't offer, the pass catching aspect of like we talked about Brashard Smith, Woody Marks. It's just, this is a good spot for him here because of the short yardage. And he could be the RB1B in this offense going forward, and that's still good because of, he could be the Jordan Howard of a couple years ago with the Bears. So I like this pick by you. Really good pick up there. I guess I kind of have to stop the bleeding here with Jaden Higgins. It's not going to be Gary Johnson. I will refuse to do that.
No,
second round pick. It's an offense with CJ Stroud that should be better than what it is. It's just the offensive line is so damn bad.
Awful.
Stroud doesn't really have a ton of time. But again, Stroud's also going to get a long leash because we saw what he did his rookie year. His second year was up and down. So far this year has been up and down. But again, a guy like Jaden Higgins, big body type wide receiver, has good movement skills. I think he could, still carve out a role for himself. It's just going to take maybe a little longer than we expected already.
Yep. No arguments from me. Jaden Higgins, I'm very happy with what I've seen, but he really needs to show it if Nico sits, because the guy I'm going to take after him is his teammate, Jalen Knoll.
That's what
And
like that.
he looks, he looks damn good. He looked damn good last week. And if they can get these two guys rolling, the problem is, like you've talked about, the plays need to develop. They need to develop downfield for these guys to get rolling. We saw far too much Dalton Schultz out of necessity last week. But that's just what this team had and CJ Stroud has to do. But, we mentioned these weapons. It's Woody Marks, it's Higgins, it's Knoll. And if Nico is healthy and if Schultz is around, this is a really great offense with the exception of the offensive line.
See, my thing is I kind of panicked and took Higgins because I forgot about Knoll.
I have Higgins over Knoll, but it's very close.
I had Knoll pre-draft higher than Higgins because I just liked what he can do. And I think, with Kirk being in and out of the lineup and, Knoll, a guy who can win the intermediate part of the field, in short, it could be good for him to, having Stroud get the ball that quickly could be really good for Knoll, especially going down the stretch here. So I like this pick. My next pick, guy just set himself up to be the RB2, with an unfortunate injury. I'm going to take a guy, I talked about as Mr. Smooth as Silk himself, if I could find him here, if I just remember to keep using this damn search bar. Devin Neal is going to be my pick here. I really like Devin Neal, and again, we're getting in the third round where he kind of was going third, fourth round in rookie drafts. Now his situation's a little bit more open up for him, so let's see what he does with it. I like getting him here, especially with, like I just said, how things have happened.
Yep. No argument there. We're going to see what he can do as early as this week. The Saints, the problem is Taysom Hill is still a thing.
Stop it.
and they face Tampa, right? So if there's one thing that Tampa can do is they can defend the run with their gigantic
Vita Vea is a fucking wrecking ball.
He may be the best interior lineman in the NFL. And especially with Jeffrey Simmons' injury now, he probably is. I mean, Jalen Carter, I guess, has something to say about that. But Vita Vea has been doing it for longer, and he just looks so good still, which is
and he wears no gloves, which is terrifying.
He's a monster.
Who's your next guy here?
I had one guy ahead of Devin Neal at this point in the draft. It's Bashal Tutin. I'm just going to go ahead and trust the process with him and this Jags team. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is the long-term answer, but he's going to be there for another year or two. He may be on the Sam Darnold path, the Baker Mayfield path to relevancy, where he needs to get on a different team and just get out of Jacksonville to get right, because I think he has the talent, but there's something wrong there. But if this offense ever figures it out in the next 2 years, I think Bashal Tutin is going to be the face of that offense. We already have the wide receivers in place. Brenton Strange looks really good as a young tight end. If you can get a guy in there who can sling it, but also maybe a young guy who needs to rely on the running game, I think Bashal Tutin can be the guy who can carry the load.
I was the major Bashal Tutin guy, so
yeah,
I get it. Especially, he has shown flashes, right? Yeah. It's just his Jags offense is so confusing right now.
It's awful.
I thought he'd be better. Like, I was anti, but with Liam Cohen in this offense, I thought he would do better than what he's doing. I also thought, Tank Bigsby was still going to be there. Travis Etienne started out hot. It's kind of faltered off. It's just kind of a confusing mess. But at the 3-7, I don't hate this pick. In a tight end premium league here, though, Jeremy, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. And you might not see this one coming, but it's a guy I believed in slightly more than Mason Taylor pre-draft, but then, the combine and everything and then the draft capital. I'm going to take Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm sneakily has had 5 targets, 3 targets, 5 targets the past 3 weeks, 4 receptions, 2 receptions, 4 receptions, has been the safety blanket for Cam Ward. And Cam Ward seems to be a big fan of Gunnar Helm, as am I. So I really like this pick. This, again, could be a curveball to you, but again, Chig is about to be a free agent at the end of this year. So they might give the guy they drafted in the 4th round to be their tight end 1. And again, safety blanket for Cam Ward, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, agree with you. There's so many holes on this team that they can't afford to pay Chig. When they already have Gunnar Helm, who's looking good. They're using him now, like you mentioned, in reference for a reason, and that's because he's the tight end of the future. And I loved the offseason talk about Gunnar Helm and how poorly he performed, but then the next day you saw the picture of his ankle swollen the size of
the combine.
At the combine. So I think it was clear that he fell, but it was also clear that he was still a very good player. So I don't mind this pick at all. And I think he's
at Texas, his last year was the leading target and receptions leader for that Longhorns team, with Matthew Golden and Isaiah Bond on that team.
Awesome. And he's looked good in limited usage. Let's hope it continues, like we've been talking about, on a terrible team.
For sure. Who's your next one here?
Well, I'm between a couple of guys, but I'll back-to-back tight end it. Let's go Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah. I had 1 or 2 guys ahead of him, but like you said, at this stage in the draft and being tight end premium, Terrence Ferguson has looked really good. The problem is he's got a couple of guys in front of him, but thankfully those guys are a little bit older. So Terrence Ferguson, for me, is the guy that I'm happy to draft in this position. I want him on my team. I have him on a fair amount of my dynasty squads already. It might take a little bit longer for him to develop because the path in front of him. The question will be, will Matthew Stafford still be the quarterback when Ferguson gets
That's
his
the case.
full-time shot? And I don't
Mhm.
know. So that's the risk, really. But if Sean McVay doesn't hang it up early, like we heard rumblings of this offseason, oddly, if he's still around for the long term and they're still able to build this team around him and get a good quarterback in, I like Terrence Ferguson long term.
Yeah, I don't mind this pick. Again, another safety blanket tight end. It's just, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, who's Tyler Higbee, Kyron Williams. It's a plethora of options right now. I thought we'd see a little bit more from Terrence Ferguson already, but
Agreed.
again, I don't hate this pick here, especially where you're getting him. I'm going to go with a guy we've seen some flashes from. I do think that there's a wide receiver ahead of him, obviously, and it's kind of been a weird year for this offense in general. It's going to be Pat Bryant. I like Pat Bryant. I like the big playability, the hard slants, the above the rim type. He just has absolute mitts for hands. He catches everything that comes to him. I think Sean Payton will eventually get this kid going. It's just, again, it's another rookie. It's another, stacked wide receiver room with Courtland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Evan Ingram starting to come on a little bit. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I like Pat Bryant. So again, 310, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. I'm in love with Troy Franklin. I was hopeful for him last year just because of the rapport with Bo Nix. Finally, we see it come to fruition. Look, this is the RJ Harvey, right? Buy low on RJ Harvey because he's going to be utilized a ton next season. Sean Payton will allow him on the field and he'll be a stud. But yeah, it took Troy Franklin the extra year to kind of get onto the field, and he's looked great with his opportunity. So that's why I'm a little lower on Pat Bryant. But otherwise, you hope. Look, Pat Bryant himself is a rookie. Maybe next year he's on the field in three wide receiver sets, and Mims goes to special teams or something.
Oh, don't do that to Mims. I think Mims. Who's your next pick here at 311?
Maybe it's a homer pick. I don't care. It's Kyle Williams. The reports about Kyle Williams, even still in practice, have been glowing. They love this guy. We saw what he can do in the preseason. The problem is he's got some excellent veteran receivers all of a sudden on this Patriots team that's stacked at wide receiver, and Kayshon Boutte has been playing out of his mind. So Kyle Williams can't get on the field. That's okay. I'm okay with that. And like we talked about, look, these rookies need to take time to learn this McDaniel systems because Williams is going to be played all over the field when he finally gets his shot. Is Diggs going to be on this team next year if he can still do it? Yeah, absolutely. So far, he looks great. Bootie's going to be running on the outside. And then I don't know if Mac Hollins is long for this team. We saw Kendrick Bourne already shipped out. So I think Kyle Williams in year 2 gets a crack at a real, wide receiver 3 position on this team, and then he can grow from there. The Patriots clearly love him. It's just there's no room for him right now.
Yeah, that's the thing, and they have cleared up some room with the trading of his name's escaping. Kendrick Bourne, but the rookie from last year out of Washington that they drafted in the second round.
I've forgotten his name, but I know Polk.
Oh, Jalen Polk and then Javon Baker, they're both gone. So things have opened up even more. It's just they've seen, like you said, they've seen Kayshon Boutte just absolutely crushing it. Stephon Diggs has been decent. Hunter Henry has been solid as well. And it's just Drake May spreading the ball around. So again, Kyle Williams he's so damn good. Kyle Williams will get his opportunity. I'm a believer in him as well, so I don't hate this pick. Again, I feel absolutely disgusting. This is a player that I was not a fan of at all in the draft process in the NFL right now. But again, I guess I have to take him here at the 312.
You have to.
He does have decent draft capital. I got to take Caleb Johnson here. It is absolutely foul that you left him for me to do this. But again, really young running back will still have opportunities ahead of him. What's his name? Kenneth Gainwell. I don't think he's not long for that team. He's just he's a special teamer and a pass catcher at best. Jalen Warren, though, has been better than I think a lot of people besides me thought. I thought Jalen Warren was just a strong pass catching back that could, obviously make people miss that. People just shit on him because they drafted Caleb Johnson. And I think he's pretty damn good himself. So he's also making special teams blunders, Caleb Johnson is. So that's going to hurt himself with Mike Tomlin. At this point, you got to take him.
Yeah, you have to take him here. I mean, Caleb Johnson will get on the field at some point. When he does, he's going to be good in this Arthur Smith system. It's just going to take a while, and you definitely don't want him on the field with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers will just eat this kid alive. So look, Aaron Rodgers, I cannot see Rodgers playing another season after this one. This has got to be his last hurrah. So whether it's Will Howard or a journeyman or a rookie, whatever they get in there next season, you can put Caleb Johnson next to him, Jalen Warren as well. And like you said, Kenneth Gainwell, no, he's not a long-term factor for me. So I like the pick. And to be honest, he was the guy I passed up to take Williams.
Yeah, I probably would have done the same thing because I was a huge Kyle Williams believer. Yep. So I don't hate that pick at all. I was going to have us break down the draft at the end here, but I think we broke it down as we were going, which I don't mind doing that because you and I chit-chatted for a while. Is there a player off the board that hasn't been drafted that you probably would have snuck in there?
No, I was trying to answer that question for myself. I love Dylan Sampson pre-draft, but the problem is he's just stuck behind a great running back in Quinshon Judkins in a very mediocre to poor offense. And so Dylan Sampson, I don't know if he gets the run for a couple of years. That really concerns me. Other guys, maybe Dylan Gabriel in a super flex league, but how long does he hold that job? Shimmery DK looked good. Efton Chisholm is another guy on my Pats who, they seem to like a lot. But you mentioned Jimmy Horn Jr. earlier. But no, I think all of these guys clear all of those guys pretty significantly.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. Jalen Milroe was a guy I thought about in Superflex, but I think Sam Darnold is impressed to the point where we don't really have to worry about Jalen Milroe for the time being. And then I love Jalen Royals. It's just I thought I would have saw more with the Rashee Rice suspension and everything that's happened with Xavier Worthy. He also was injured too, so at the beginning of the season, so it took some time probably for him to figure out the regular season. But all the reports out of camp and everything for him were positive. I was just hoping to see more. He was a guy I thought about. And Jordan James, where the fuck have you been? Right? He was a good running back. I'm just kind of surprised it's been as abysmal.
I do have three names here who are interesting at least, but again, I think the names we have on the board are there. But names who are right there for me is Isaac Tesla, DJ Giddens, and Jack Besh, with all of the hype surrounding some of those guys and what they've shown in limited work. I guess Besh hasn't really had limited work himself, but I do like those players for long term as well. Deontay Thornton, another one, but no, they don't belong above these guys.
No, I completely agree. Well, that'll just about do it for this 3-round rookie redo that we did here. It's a lot of fun, a lot of chit-chat and back and forth, so I apologize. I took up more time than I wanted to.
That's my fault.
I apologize to you for that. So, Jeremy, let us know where everybody can find you. I mean, I already know, obviously, because you're the chairman and CEO of this company that we have growing here. But tell us where they can find you.
Listen, we are the double FU, the FU times 2, the fantasy football universe. You got to make sure you come check us out anywhere and everywhere. Of course, you already know us because you know the Dynasty Dogs, Mike here, and of course, Rich. We love everything that they're producing. We love fantasy football, and we are here almost damn near every day just trying to help you, to give you the information that you need to know to win your league. So, look. We love talking ball. You saw it over the course of this damn near 2 hours. I was going to say, do we love fantasy football, Jeremy? Far too much, man. Far too much. But look, it's a sickness. But this is kind of the information that you want guys who are sick for this shit, and that's us.
What's it called? What was that show on all that regular information for your everyday life or something like that? Was that what it was? So that's what we're doing here for you. And I also, I have the double FU for you, the fantasy football universe. So I kind of copied and slightly made it different. What's that? When you get caught in school for taking somebody's work, but you just adjust it slightly enough.
It's plagiarism, but you're fine.
All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Dynasty Dogs. I want to thank Jeremy for jumping on with us. You can find him at FF_Rebel on X. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we will see you guys next week. Rich will hopefully be back with me, and we'll see you guys next week. Oh, real quick, at the end of every episode, I just want to let everybody know that mental health is extremely important. Make sure you're reaching out to somebody. Remember that somebody out there loves you. And Rich always says we'd rather talk with you than talk about you. So again, Make sure
Love that.
you're taking care of your mental health. Everybody have a good weekend.